Latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action. You're the host as always, George. Hope you're well. Long time no see, long time no speak. Yes, we've been away for a little bit. Busy schedules have unfortunately prevented us to do the shows. And also because our co-host Dan, he has been suspended, too many red cards, too many yellow cards accumulated over the period of time. So unfortunately, we haven't been able to record a show, but we are back this week to talk about some football action. And well, I better introduce him now because I did just introduce him there in the last link. It is Dan, our co-host as always, and our Ipswich Town fan. Dan, how are you doing? Long time no see. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm not doing too bad, mate. Yeah, it's been a long time, hasn't it? It feels weird doing a show again. So yeah, let's get into it because a lot of things have happened.
Yes, a lot of things have happened. We haven't been able to come about, but they have happened, and we will talk about them because it is quite big. And also, we do have that Christmas period. The busy run up to Christmas period with all the football going on. It's really lovely to see. As they say, it's the most wonderful time of the year, don't they? In some Christmas songs. But before we go on, what's coming in today's show, I better mention that social media's Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_pitch, YouTube, it's got it both at Pitchside Talk. You want to listen back to any of our pre-shows or see any of our other content we do not worry, it's all there on the YouTube and Mixcloud, and also on our Twitter as well if you want to see any match previews as well for the games that happen in the Premier League in Ipswich Town. You can have a look on there as well. So what is coming out in today's show? We'll be talking about Ipswich Town versus Wigan. Yes, Ipswich, they travelled up to Wigan Athletic looking for some points in their, oh my God, I can't speak, in their recent league game. Also, we'll do some manager talk as well. Yes, if you don't know, Ipswich Town are currently managerless. They've only got a caretaker manager in charge. And it looks like they're getting closer to finding that candidate who will take over the hot seat at Portman Road. And also we'll be talking about the Premier League as well, all the results and all the games that have been happening in there, as we've had quite a lot of twists and turns since we've not been on the air. But when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town's away day trip to Wigan Athletic. What could possibly go wrong?
We're up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan. As always, yes, long time no see. We're finally doing a show for the first time in a while. We've been pretty busy and Dan's been suspended because Dan is a very, very naughty boy. Isn't that right, Dan? You're naughty with your yellow cards and red cards, aren't you, mate?
It is. I can't help it.
Reckless. He is absolutely reckless. More reckless than Joey Barton when he used to play football,
Yeah.
Not good enough, mate. Not good enough. But before we go on talking about Ipswich Town's game against Wigan Athletic that happened on Saturday, an away day trip up to Lancashire, I better mention the social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram is at Talk_pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to see any of our additional content, go on there and you'll find some other stuff. Or if you want to listen back to our previous shows, do not worry. They're all up there. So you can listen on the YouTube and Mixcloud. So Ipswich Town, they've had a few busy weeks at the club off the pitch, but on the pitch has been very super busy with games coming up thick and fast in this Christmas period. Also, we must remember we have got the packed out PR happening as well, which is going to be absolutely ridiculous. But it was a massive game for them on Saturday after a disappointing loss to Charlton Athletic, which saw players clash with fans, players clash with fans, and fans clash with players. Very much awful scenes at the end of the game. But Ipswich Town, they were travelling up to Wigan, who are absolutely high flying this season. They were joint first heading into this game with Rotherham and Wycombe. They were sitting second place, but they were joint first on 41 points. But Ipswich Town, they rescued a point in the end as James Nord, the exile striker, came back in style to earn an away day draw at Wigan. Town's first point since the 28th of November against Crewe Alexandra. Dan, Ipswich Town, an exile striker, saved the bacon for them. The man who hasn't been playing for a long time, the pantomime villain, James Nord, he comes on and he gets the goal pretty much written in the stars. But overall by Town, a much better performance than what it was on Tuesday night at Charlton, which was labelled really as a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, after Tuesday night's game, who would have thought we would have come out with a draw at Wigan? Because I think the general feeling around the supporters after that Charlton game was, that's it really. Where are we going to go from here? And hopefully we get a new manager in quickly. But the players bounced back like they needed to, put in a much better performance at Wigan against the Wigan side who have been, lethal in front of goal this year. So to get a draw, I was quite pleasantly surprised. I think the first half was not great again, but we showed signs of getting into the game. Obviously, we conceded quite early on in the game, and obviously another poor goal to concede. Christian Walton with another great save. He's been amazing recently, keeping us in games, but obviously we couldn't keep it out. But yeah, the second half we were much better. Second half, it looked like we were, wanting to get back into it, and of course it had to be James Norwood, didn't it? All the stuff on Twitter that he's been saying on his account, and all the stuff that fans have been saying about him. He comes back into the squad straight away and gets the equaliser. It was written in the stars. But I'm pleased he's come back. No matter what happens off the pitch, I still think he's a brilliant goal scorer and can be a really good player at this club. So I'm, really pleased that he's got that goal, because that'll do his confidence a world of good. And it's obvious that he's going to be back in the squads now. So yeah, I'm really happy with that point. I'm sure if it was against a different club in this league, I wouldn't be, but a point at Wigan, you can't really complain at it, even if you are, fighting for promotion this year, because they've been so good so far this season, haven't they?
Yeah, Wigan have, I think, been a little bit of a surprise package this season. Last season, very tough for them. They lost their manager at the time, Paul Cook. Quite ironic that he was sacked before this game, funny enough. But it was, they lost him, the financial trouble, the rebuilding of the squad, it took its toll on them. But, John McGreal, after the game, he spoke to the media, as he always does, because, that's what John McGreal does. And he said he talked about how the players made themselves accountable, and it was a massive improvement from what happened on Tuesday night's game. Describing it was a little bit better. It was a little bit of night and day, to be fair. For the first 20 minutes, again, I say we were okay. A little bit sloppy with a set piece goal, but that's something we have to work on. But it just shows that when the players do knock off, then it gives the opportunities to the opposition. We showed tons of endeavour and effort. Just lacked a little bit of quality when it was needed. I thought the second half, we saw a lot more people taking the passes, taking the ball under pressure, and you can actually see the guys' quality coming through. Dan, this is the Town side we want to see. They found their fight once again, which is we've said quite a lot this season, and it has been a little bit of a problem, that fight from Town. They struggled to sort of find it in the first half, but in the second half they seem to get it. It seems to work for them. But when we look at this Town side, when they have the fight, they're a very good side. Everything works well. They're all on the same hymn sheet. They all communicate the same way. Everything works. But does this show to the new manager, who is potentially close to join the club, we reckon, there is some quality here, and it shows these group of players can do it, but they need to get that fight on a more consistent basis, and for 90 minutes for a start.
I think that's been a huge problem this year, hasn't it? That we just can't play for a whole 90 minutes. I think there is potential in this squad, isn't there? I think we all know that, and we spent a lot of money in the summer, and we weren't, we didn't sign these players for no reason. So there's quality there, and I think it's quite a good job to come into whoever the new manager is going to be. I guess it depends who comes in and what style of play he has, and if the players are suited to that. But I don't think it really matters what style of play there is in this league, especially in League One. If you've got good players, you just need to do the simple things right. And that's why Paul Cook was sacked, I think, because we just weren't doing that. We were second best in a lot of games. Not that I'm saying I agree with Paul Cook leaving, but there is potential here. And I think that's the thing that we're holding on to hope for, is we've got some quality players. We play well at times. We have spells. But that's, I think, what the new manager needs to come in and sort out is the inconsistency of our team, because we can play amazing football for 30 minutes in a second half. But if you're not doing that for a full 90, then what's the use in that? And all of a sudden, we seem to be struggling to score goals, which is, again, another problem. We had a problem with that, in the first quarter of the season. We've been scoring goals for fun, but all of a sudden it's just dried up. We just can't get the ball in the net, which again is another huge problem. And I think that has something to do with the formation that Paul Cook played. But yeah, I think this does show that there's potential for the new manager. I think John McGreal, the comments he's made is good to hear, and he's only got one job, and that's just keeping the ship afloat, really, isn't it? So you can't really blame him for anything. We just need to sort out the way we're playing, and I think the new manager has got quite a big job, but potential to do well here, I think.
Yeah. Do you feel if Town go back to the basics and sort of sort out the small little details, organisation, do you feel everything will sort of follow suit and it all fall into place, and it will be looking at this Town side that were scoring for fun at the start of the season, but not leaking goals at the other end?
Yeah, I think even when we were scoring goals, we were still conceding them, weren't we? So it needs to be a consistency all over the pitch. And if, as you say, if we can do the simple things right, this league, no matter how much trouble we've had in the last 3 years in League One, it is not a hard league to get out of if you have the right players. And I really do believe, even though we sit in, 12th place in League One, how many points it is off the playoffs, I really do believe that these players can do well in this league. They just need the right guidance, and it just didn't work with Paul Cook. Even though I think he was still the right man for the job, for some reason it just wasn't working. He had the tools. He had the owners pretty much told him, get whoever you want in the summer. He did that. It just wasn't the right fit, unfortunately. So hopefully the new manager who comes in can just put a spark in these players. That's all we need in this league, I think. And yeah, let's hope it comes quickly, because we've been managerless for quite a while now. So it needs to come quite quickly, I think.
It does. Well, one of the biggest changes heading into this game was a change of formation. Yes, Town, as we said, they went back to basics. They went back to a 4-4-2, a good old 4-4-2, a sturdy, strong formation, which saw a very much more of an organised and a hard-working Ipswich Town, especially during that first half, which was very scrappy. I feel all that sort of organisation, hard work was missing from that Charlton game. And also the one problem from that Charlton game was creating chances. Town, they created a few more chances, which did equal in that equaliser from James Norwood. But as we said about going back to basics, Town, they did, and it worked very well for them. But now surely this 4-4-2 system, which seems to sort of iron out those problems of the organisation, the hard-working, everybody on the same page, back to basics. Surely this formation now is going to be here to stay, isn't it? Instead of this fancy 4-2-3-1 and all these other formations Town have tried this season. Surely the 4-4-2 formation with two up top, which a lot of fans have been crying out for, and yourself, surely this is now the way to go, isn't it?
I mean, surely it is, yeah. The thing is with 4-2-3-1, it's obviously quite a modern system of football. And it's worked for Paul Cook in the past, but do we have the right players to really play that system? I think the players we have pass the ball around well. But, Morsey and Evans in the holding, two very similar players who do very similar things, which at times I think just just need a bit of variety in there. He sometimes played, well, we have a lot of number 10s at the club, don't we? And he played a lot of them on the wing where they were just out of position. And then playing one up front, we just couldn't get the ball up there to the one man, which was Bond for most of it. He scored goals, but he wasn't getting the service, was he? So playing a 4-4-2, it's, as you said, going back to basics. It's a formation that works whatever players you have, I think. It's just the basic one. And as I said previously, and as I've said so many times, and as Ipswich fans and probably every team in this league has said, you don't need to do a lot to get out of this league. You just need to get the simple things right. And we just haven't been doing that. So hopefully the 4-4-2 system, as you said, irons out the mistakes and, makes it simple again. And hopefully the new manager that comes in doesn't go back to a 4-2-3-1, because personally, I just don't think it works with this squad. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with the new manager and what formation he plays. But I just hope 4-4-2 stays, because it's the simple one, and you can get your most out of the players in that formation, I think.
Yes, you can. Well, funny enough, the new manager who is rumoured, who we will talk about a little bit later on the show, according to a football website, his favourite formation is the 4-2-3-1.
Great to hear. Great to hear.
just savour the time of the 4-4-2 being here. It might all disappear. Well, one player we haven't talked about just yet who did get the equaliser in the game was James Norwood. And I think him and ourselves, us fans, thought his days were done and dusted, as Town have been, exiled him to really the under-23s and reportedly had transfer listed the striker. But he came on and he made an instant impact, getting his first league goal of the season in his first cameo of the season, actually, in the League One. He hasn't played in League One at all this whole campaign. Is he done yet?
I remember him getting an assist in the first game because he headed it.
Yes, he did. Yes,
but I can't remember anything else.
How can we forget? He was the person who assisted an Ipswich boy. How can we forget that? That's a good trivia question, that is. And we're just going out of the way. That would be our good pub quiz question. And we just ruined it completely, Dan. That's not good at all. We need to go away. But getting his first league goal of the season, Dan, he has been saying to McGrew all week, if I play, I will score. And he backed that up with a goal and reminded everybody of his name in his celebration when he turned his back around and did a little fun point to his name, remind everybody he's called Norwood. But, with these big games coming up on Saturday against Sunderland, surely McGill has got to put him straight in that starting 11, because he's the only striker at the moment that's on fire. And maybe, just maybe, he's here to stay, isn't he?
I mean, you'd think so now, wouldn't you? I think most people thought that the new owners, after his comments about Paul Cook and how good of their relationship they have, there were his comments on Twitter, weren't they? So, I think that kind of put into the head of everyone that it was, I guess, his attitude off the pitch. The owners didn't like it and weren't allowing him to play. But Mark Ashton came out and said the manager can play who he wants, and he's back. And, I'm glad to see him back. We've been calling out for something different, haven't we, for the past few weeks? And he definitely brings that, and he proved that he can do it because he scores straight away. So, you'd think he'd go straight into the starting 11, wouldn't you? Yes. I think he will. But we'll have to wait and see, because I think it's hard to pick between the strikers we have at the moment. I think who's the better one. Bond's had a great start to the season. He's dropped off. Piggott hasn't had a chance yet, really, has he? And Norwood, we know, can score goals in this league. So who knows what will happen? And I'm just pleased that he's not, because I feel like if he stayed in the under-23s too long, he just wouldn't want to be playing for us anymore. He reportedly was transfer listed, but I don't know if that's still in place. Probably not. But yeah, let's see what happens on Saturday. But I'm just pleased he's back in and scored straight away, because I think we need players like that who can come in and make a difference when, our first team players are not on form at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's good to have him back as well. Well, as we mentioned there's a very big game coming up on Saturday against Sunderland for the first game of this packed out PR. Yes, Portman Road is going to apparently be packed out. A new campaign, marketing strategy to get fans into Portman Road is underway. I think it's quite cheap, actually. I can't think. Was it £40 for 3 games for an adult and 15 for an adult for 1 game? It's crazy stats. But heading into this game, it is a very big game for Town and Sunderland. I will just mention before, actually, we can actually get into the little preview here. For the packed out PR campaign, there's only 500 tickets remaining for this game on Saturday, as 700 tickets have been sold so far. So much so, additional areas have been made available due to the high demand, which I have to say, Dan, it's fantastic to see so many fans in Portman Road. I think it's the first time I'm going to see this many fans in Portman Road. I've only probably seen 25,000 in Portman Road at once, but 28,000 fans in Portman Road on a Saturday against Sunderland. It's going to be absolutely rocking, isn't it?
It is, yeah. What an occasion it'll be. I think the highest I've seen is about this level was the playoff game against Norwich. That's the most I've seen, which I think went up to 29,000. So to see that again in League One is brilliant, and I'm so glad that this has worked. The new owners know what they're doing. Mark Ashton and Mike O'Leary, they know what they're doing with this stuff. So, yeah, let's get Portman Road rocking, and I'm sure we could be the 12th man on Saturday.
Let's hope we'll be the 12th man. Well, we better get into this preview now. Town, they head into this game here, only 1 win out of their last 5 games. Currently sitting 9 points away from those playoff places, which is currently in Plymouth Argyle. They sit 12th place, but they are playing Sunderland, who have absolutely done a little bit of a barnstormer. Unbeaten the last 5 games, also 3 wins in the last 5 games. They're only now 2 points off the top spots in League One as they currently sit in 3rd place under Lee Johnson. Dan, Sunderland and Ipswich, they only played under a month ago, and unfortunately Town, they lost that game 2-0 at the Stadium of Light. But for Town, they come into this game here with a lot of backing here, a lot of backing. Potentially a new manager could be revealed in this game here, so there's a lot of anticipation. The owners are going to be here. There's a lot of anticipation on that as well. A lot of pressure on Ipswich Town's shoulders, but they're playing a Sunderland side here, who also are absolutely bossing it at the moment. Only 2 points off the top. This game here between 2 big sides in League One, it's going to be an occasion you don't want to miss.
It is, yeah. Hopefully it's going to be a really good game. Am I confident for it, though? I think I'm half and half. I think the pressure of the crowd and the owners being there is what worries me the most, really, in this game, because, I mean, famously, we're just terrible under pressure, aren't we? So there's that going for us. But on the other hand, I think that can help us as well. So I'm a little bit confident going into this one. I think the draw at Wigan has helped us a lot. I think it's shown that we can still compete, even though we don't have a manager. So I think it's quite a hard game to predict. Obviously, Sunderland are on a really good run at the moment, and they've had a very good season this year. The last game, the 2-0 loss, we were better than them throughout the whole 90 pretty much, and still lost the game, which was disappointing. But I'm quietly confident, I'd say, going into this one, and hopefully it'll be 3 points, because 3 points in front of the new owners, in front of 28,000, it would be, amazing. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. Whether I really think that in my head, I don't know, but my heart says it's going to be a win, and it's going to be a great occasion.
So Dan is going for all 3 points at Ipswich Town this Saturday. Let us know what you think is going to happen in this first game of the packed out PR campaign, marketing strategy, whatever you think. Get fans in the stadium, whatever it is. Town has gone for a 1-0 victory to Ipswich Town against Sunderland. So that is all for our Ipswich Town versus Wigan this week. But when we come back, we're going to continue our Ipswich Town talk a little bit more about what's been going off the pitch. As we all know, Ipswich Town, they don't have a manager at the moment. There's lots of talk about who's going to be the next one, who's going to be the next manager. and we might have potentially found out who's going to be the new manager.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. Now, before we get on talking about Ipswich Town a little bit more in detail about manager talk. Yes, we do like a little bit of manager talk on this show. We don't do it enough, but we do like it when we have to talk about it. But before we get on to that, I better mention the social medias. Twitter's at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. And if you've missed anything from today's show, do not worry. Do not worry at all. If you missed us talk about Ipswich Town versus Wigan, which happened on Saturday at 6 p.m. on Friday, this show is released on YouTube and Mixcloud. So if you missed that on the live show here on iRadio right now, do not worry. You can listen back to it whenever you want to. You can listen live or something like that. I can't think they call it. Listen back, playback. That's the word, playback. You can listen to it on YouTube and Mixcloud. Well, it has been now over a week since the statement was released by Ipswich Town that Paul Cook was dismissed from his position as Ipswich Town boss. And then since then, John McGrill, he has stepped up to the plate as caretaker manager until a new manager was found on a permanent basis. Yes, a permanent basis. But many managers have been, well, rumoured with the current position. Managers who are out of work, managers who are in work, new managers who are on the scene. They have been rumoured with the hot seat at Portman Road. But Mark Ashton confirmed the search would be long and thorough. But it looks like the search might be nearly over as one manager, well, has become the overall favourite. So who could it be? It could be somebody young, somebody experienced, somebody fresh, somebody who plays exciting football, somebody who's got promotions. It could be somebody who plays sideways and negative football, which we all like to see at Portman Road. We've seen that for quite a long time. And the current favourite for the job at the moment is Neil Harris. Yes, Neil Harris, Dan. He's close. He's rumouredly close to signing a contract at Ipswich Town. We do know he did put his application in. He apparently put his CV and his application in for the job. But lots of fans on social media are not very happy by the sacking of Paul Cook, which we haven't talked about yet on the show, but it sort of was very unexpected. But the decision possibly to go down the route and get Neil Harris hasn't really gone down well either with the fans.
No, it hasn't. And I can't help but be underwhelmed by it as well, really. Okay, first of all, I think the sacking of Paul Cook, I'm not too pleased that we did that. I think we could have given him much longer. I just don't think it was the right time to do it, at this point, considering we're quite far off playoffs. I guess there's an argument that that's the reason why. And I guess I understand to an extent why the new owners chose to do that, but I think he was probably our best option going forward. But it's in the past now, isn't it? We can't change it. So we need to look forward. And Neil Harris he's done well at clubs in the past. I think he got promoted with Millwall in this league, didn't he? Yes. He got to the playoffs with Cardiff in the Championship. So, you can't complain that he's got experience and done it at the level above as well. But I really don't know what it is. Is it the style of play that he does? Even though that kind of goes against what I've been saying earlier about it doesn't really matter about what style you play in this league. But I just cannot help but be underwhelmed by Neil Harris. There's not many names available at the moment, is there? And some of the names on the list that we've seen are just a no-no, basically. So is he the best option? It just makes me wonder why we sacked Paul Cook if we're getting Neil Harris in, because I just don't understand, basically. But saying that, I will give him a chance. I'm not going to write him off straight away, even though I kind of just did, but I'm going to try not to write him off straight away. If it is Neil Harris that is appointed, then we're going to have to get on with it and just support him, because you don't want a new manager come in and the fans already hate him. So as much as I don't really want him as our number one, if it is, then fair play, and let's just support him basically and see how it goes, because as I said, he's done it in this league before. Who knows? He could get us into the playoffs this year, because I think top two's gone now. But if the new owners think he's the man for the job, then I guess the fans are there for the ride as well.
Yeah, well, before you absolutely write him off, which you just did there,
I basically did. But then I went back on myself. So
yeah. I tell you something, Dan. I know it sounds bad. You sound like one of these typical Ipswich Town fans, you know.
Yeah, I do, don't I?
Write them off, and then suddenly go, I absolutely love you, and then people remind you, you written him off that month, and they go really quiet. Yeah. It's a little bit weird to see, and they go a bit defensive. But before you do, we better go back through Neil Harris's career so far as a manager. He's got a bit of experience. He's been around a little bit of time, so we better actually have a look to see what he has done. Well, he has been out of work since January 2021, the 21st, after he was dismissed by Cardiff for Mick McCarthy. How'd that go? Well, down for you, Cardiff fans. It went really well, didn't it? As I rubbed my hands.
We warned them.
Yes, we warned them. But Bristol City fans warned us about Ashton. We haven't listened to them just yet. But yes, his managerial career, he's got quite a bit of experience of him, we could say. Starting off with Millwall late March 2015, but the club were facing relegation, which unfortunately happened. Nothing really he could have done about that. But heading into the next season in League One, he guided the Lions to the playoffs at first time of asking. But they did slip at the final step at Wembley versus Barnsley. But Millwall, they kept their faith with Neil Harris. He went again. He got into the playoffs and he guided them back to the Championship by those playoffs the next season, which then followed by a Championship finish in 8th place before resigning the next season with the Lions, but then joined Cardiff and guided them to a playoff finish, which unfortunately ended shortly, losing in the semi-finals to Fulham. But then after that, he then got dismissed later that season for a poor run of results, which now leads us into this situation where he could be he is going to potentially be the next Ipswich Town manager. But Dan, if we look back at Harris's record here, we can see it's pretty consistent at getting clubs into those playoff finishes. He'd done it with Millwall twice. Maybe he didn't do it the first time around and getting them back up to the Championship, that bounce back effect. But he went back the next season. He got through to the playoff final, got them back to the Championship. So he's got that experience of doing it, getting clubs to the playoffs. But the few sticking points, I think, with Town fans is, like you said, the style of football. It is pretty negative. It's a little bit sideways. We know that has been seen quite a lot at Portman Road under Mick McCarthy, under Lambert, under Hurst, under Jewell, under Keane, under such and such name. I can't think of
everyone, basically.
Yeah, basically every other manager, apart from the ones that did really well at Ipswich Town, which there's loads, there's many. The list is absolutely long, but there's more boring ones as well. But the thing is with him is that style of football, but also, is he future-proof? Is he a future-proof manager? Because with Millwall, he got into 8th place in the Championship, but then resigned during the next season, and they weren't doing too well. And the same for Cardiff here. When he was at Cardiff and he got dismissed, he was on a poor run of results after a high finish with them, getting them into the playoffs. Maybe they didn't make the playoff final, but still getting to the playoffs with the Cardiff side. Very good. No disrespect to Cardiff. But is that the few sticking points here? We're looking at Town maybe possibly coming, if they appoint Harris, just basically, you're going to get it to the playoffs first season, get that done, instant impact, but then it's that future-proof afterwards is the big problem, which I guess makes people feel like we're taking a backward step from Cook and going into a situation of getting instant impact with a different manager each time, and Harris looks like he's going to be the first one.
He does, yeah, and maybe that's it's the modern way of football. It seems nowadays, doesn't it? You don't get many teams that go really long term with a manager. But yeah, that's the question: is he going to be a manager who comes in and is just here for instant success, because that's what he seems like he's done at other clubs, and then move on? When a bad run of results comes along. That's the interesting thing with Neil Harris, because you'd say a name like Neil Warnock and you'd say that's definitely what that is. But I think with Harris, you just don't know. And it does seem like a step backwards to me. Just with his style of play, I know Paul Cook's passing football didn't really work, and I know maybe long ball and sideways will work in this league, but that's what we got bored with Mick, didn't we? That's what we, turned on him for. Do we really want to go back to that? I understand where people are coming from when they say, he's done it in this league before. We cannot write him off straight away, but I don't know what it is with me. I just don't like the name was being said and Neil Harris coming in, but I'm still going to give him time if he does. But is he long term? I don't think I can answer that really. That's the honest truth, because I just cannot see him being long term. But he doesn't seem like a short term manager at the same time, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, I don't really know if that does, but I guess we'll wait and see. It might not even be him that comes in. I know he's been favoured for a long time now, but he's looking the most likely. And when he comes in, I hope for instant success, because we've got half a season to go now. Actually, we're pretty much halfway through right now, aren't we? So we've got half a season to get in the playoffs, and if he's going to be the man to do that, then let's hope he does, because we really do not want. I'm fed up with League One, George. I really am, and I just want to get out of this league as quick as possible. And if he can do that, then let's take him.
Well, if he is appointed, which is highly likely is going to happen, the main question I'm going to ask you is, can he provide that instant impact Town need and get them into the playoffs, or maybe if it goes swimmingly into the top two, but is he the person to get Town into the playoffs this season if he joined soon? Will he do that? Is that what we expect, or will that not happen?
It's what we expect. And I don't want to say that he can't do it, because I haven't given him any time. So I'm going to say that he can, but it's Christmas now, isn't it? And we're 9 points off the playoffs. Teams around us are picking up points thick and fast. So we need to appoint a manager soon. And if that's not going to be this week, then we've got 3 massive games. They are huge. Actually, we're kind of forgetting we've got Gillingham away on Boxing Day as well.
Yeah,
we keep forgetting that.
Oh God, 4 then, 4.
So 4 huge games. This run of games is massive. So we need a manager in before Saturday. And it's looking more and more likely that it's going to be him. And I'm going to say he can get us into the playoffs, because I don't want to write him off so early. I feel like I'm just contradicting myself throughout this whole bit, but it's just I don't know where I stand really with Neil Harris. I think that's the honest truth. But can he do it in this league? He's done it before. He's got playoffs in the Championship before, so yeah, he can get us playoffs. Whether he can be a future, I don't know.
Well, I think the toughest question I'm going to ask you now is, imagine we lived in this parallel world where Ipswich Town were unfortunately in the same situation, managerless, but Neil Harris didn't exist. He wasn't even rumoured. He wasn't even on the shortlist. Wasn't even considered. Who would you like to join Ipswich Town? You can't. I'm going to say this now. There's rules. You can't be you can't say Pep Guardiola, Klopp. You've got to be realistic here. I know you just go like Pep Guardiola, but you've got to say a realistic option. Who you would like to join? Who you think will get Town into the position It can be. And also another rule is you can't say Paul Cook, because I know you would just say, "Want Paul Cook back, please."
Yeah, well, if we could turn back time, then maybe I would. But it's a tough question. It really is, because there's not a lot of people out there. I've kind of got two sides to this. I've got a side where we want instant success and going up this year. Then I'd pick Neil Warnock, because he's just he'd be there to the end of the season. He'd get us up and we'd go from there. So if we want to go down that route, I'd say Neil Warnock. The other one is a little bit, I guess it's a little bit left field, because he hasn't had any experience, and he's been linked with us as well. And that's John Terry. I think he was really good as an assistant at Aston Villa. Ironically, with Dean Smith, who's now at you know who.
Yes, Norwich. So for you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd take a gamble on John Terry just to see what happens. I know that's a massive gamble and a big risk, but I think he's a good coach. So yeah, I'd say John Terry. If actually, that's not really. I don't know if that's a long-term appointment either, but it's between John Terry and Neil Warnock for sure. That's what my heart would go for. If we were talking 2 weeks ago, before Ryan Lowe went to Preston, he would be my number one by a long way, but he went elsewhere, so I can't exactly pick him. So yeah, I'd go John Terry or Neil Warnock for me.
So basically, you've gone from someone who's very experienced, won 8 promotions, and says you've got to die to win 3 points, and shouting at Lino, and I won't say the rest. It's expletives.
Yeah,
and then to an absolute extreme of somebody who's got no experience.
Yeah,
but as a coach, but as a very world-class defender, has won basically. He won everything, didn't he, at Chelsea? Yeah,
pretty much. So it's basically the safe option or the gamble. That's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what it is. Well, that is all for our Ipswich Town manager talk this week. Let us know what you think to Tan's thoughts on who he would like to become Ipswich Town manager. Basically experienced and, well, inexperienced, I think we can say. And the thoughts of Neil Harris joining the club. That's our thoughts from our Ipswich Town fans always. Dan, that's what he thinks of Neil Harris. Basically contradicted himself. And unfortunately, that is all we've got for this week's show. The last show for the year, funny enough, Dan. This is really bad. This is the last show for 2021. This is our Christmas show and our New Year's show. We're going to do a bundle, because we've run out of money. No, we haven't. We haven't got time. But no, it's weird. We've hit the end of the show and the end of the year 2021. Another bizarre year.
It'll be our. When did we start this? Bloody hell! It's been bloody ages, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. It has been ages, but it's one of those things. But yeah, it's sad. But made it through 2021. Football has been an interesting year for football. I think we could say with the Premier League, the return of fans, the highs and the very, very lows of the Euro 2020 campaign in 2021. And then fans fully returning. Ipswich Town, new owners, all sorts, new manager, now managerless. I'm trying to think what else happened during the year. An All English final in the Champions League.
Yeah,
lots of stuff has happened. But I want to thank you very much, Dan, for joining me for 2021, for the whole show of 2021. I want to thank you very much as always for joining me. And I guess I will see you in 2022 when we're back bigger and better, and hopefully Town have a manager and aren't bad every week. Unfortunately, sorry, Town.
Well, I mean, surely we've had so many years of being awful. Hopefully 2022, surely that's our year.
Surely is our year.
I'm doing it with my fingers crossed tightly.
This sounds a bit like Only Fools and Horses, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, it does. It does. You're right.
It does. It's giving me that sort of vibe and that impression of mine. I feel like you're Del Boy at the moment. I'm just going, here we go again.
Yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
Say it every year.
Say it every year. But yeah, that is unfortunately everything for this week's show and for the last show of the year. I want to thank you very much for listening as always. So if you want to follow us on our social medias, please do. Twitter, it's at Pitchside Talk. Instagram's at Talk_Bitch and Mixcloud, both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to see any of our district content, head over there and you'll see all of it there. So for the final time this year, I've been George. He's been Dan. We'll see you in 2022. And ciao.
See ya.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.